Somehow, my daughters fell in love with Formula One. I don't know how or why, but I'm not arguing. They may not know wheel, but does anyone?
Hi, and welcome to We Don't Know Wheel F1. I'm Anne.
And I'm Grace. We're two sisters who fell in love with Formula One. Let's get into it. Canadian Grand Prix. It's time. Lance Stroll's home race, but maybe it's Fernando Alonso's. Who knows? I think my favorite meme I saw from this weekend was about Alonso telling Lance that Canada was now his home Grand Prix.
Yes, that's a good one. Which in the collection that meme was a part of that you said, I think the one that it made me sad, very sad, but I enjoyed it the most was there was a screenshot of the scene from, I think it was called Captain Phillips, like Tom Cruise movie,
Yes.
where one character is saying, "I'm the captain now," and they had it with Alex
the pirate
Albon and Checo, where Alex was saying, "I'm the tire whisperer now." That one was my personal favorite.
It's good.
So good. Yeah.
So I loved that meme. Poor Lance Stroll. Such a sad day for the son of a billionaire.
He had a rough go of it. I don't even remember what all happened to him because he was never really in contention to make much of an impact on the race.
No. Let me ask you about this. Lance Stroll said he was donating the proceeds of auctioning off his race suit and his shoes and his helmet to the Canadian wildfires, which that's a very lovely sentiment. But then I was just sitting there like, aren't you the son of a billionaire? Aren't you a Formula One driver? Why don't you just donate some money?
Yeah.
Maybe it's his dad who's going to buy those items.
I feel like there are a lot of celebrities who will set up fundraisers and say I'm donating a big chunk of money too. And they don't always say how much, but Lance Stroll definitely, to my memory, did not say that he was personally donating.
Lance Stroll is like, I actually don't have any money. My dad just pays for everything. Like, I've always wondered,
the classic
his dad
rich person line, "I'm not rich, my dad's rich."
My dad's rich. I've always wondered if, because his dad funds the teams that he drives on, what if he's not taking a salary? Like, what if they're like, one of the perks to your team is that you won't have to pay my son. I'll give him allowance. They're like, it helps a ton with the cost cap. What if that's how Aston Martin made such a good car with the money they have? No.
I mean, the team that Lawrence Stroll bought, Racing Point, Force India, all the teams that it was before then, has always kind of been known as a team that does really well with the little that they have. And so I feel like Lance Stroll just coming in with a bunch of money, they're now like, oh, we can do even better now that we actually have money, but we can keep doing all the good things that we're already doing.
I'm just saying, Lawrence is, he's a businessman. So I think he knows his way around a scam. No.
But isn't that just psychology of being how old is Lance Stroll now? 27?
No, he's 24, just so you know.
20?
He's a literal
child.
How is
he that young?
What am I, a child bride? like he's so young.
But just think about the psychology of being a 24-year-old
19.
Yeah. 24-year-old person who everything that they have and that they're able to do in life in some way, shape, or form is dependent on your dad.
Yeah, this is all coming back to that reporter at the last race being like, what do you have to say about Fernando saying he wasn't going to fight with you? And Lance being like, why don't you ask for Fernando? I just saw a little interview snippet or something with Lando Norris where he was talking about how he never like his dad is not a billionaire, but he
They were
is
well
like a
off.
multi-millionaire, like hundreds
They're
of
that rich.
millions. Oh yeah. Yeah. But he talked about how like he never wanted his dad to buy his way into F1. He always wanted to like make it there on his own, which it was interesting. I was like reading some of the comments. I thought this was very insightful. And people were talking about like, obviously you don't make it into F1. Like, obviously he's talented. I'm a Lando fan. He's talented. But you need a little money, as my favorite off the grid liver says. You need a little money. And so like, yeah, he may not have bought sponsorships or bought his way onto teams, but like he was able to be there because his dad is a multi-millionaire. Like,
right. And for the people who don't have families that are that insanely wealthy, like Checo, he got to Formula One because he had support from Carlos Slim. Alex would not be in Formula One without tie sponsorship after he got dropped from Red Bull. Like, basically every driver has to have some sort of like monetary support in addition to just like being a good driver to end up where they are.
Yeah. Well, and what I thought, I saw one of the commentators talking about this, and I thought I really liked it. They were basically saying like, especially in the UK, because Lewis Hamilton is such an idol and he truly was like a bootstrapper, like, you know, he made it there on like grit and talent and like sacrifice. And so younger drivers who come up want to emulate that story, even though they come from a lot more privilege. And so that's like a way of doing it. It's like, but I didn't pay for a team to take me on, which is a fair, I think is it fair? I don't know, but it is, I can understand why you would feel like you wanted to make that distinction.
Yeah. I wonder how Lance Stroll feels hearing that. Of like, in a way, isn't every single time they say that? Like,
it's explicitly about him.
It's a dig at Lance Stroll.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, I feel like Lance is like good enough that he could have made it in if he would have like bided his time. I always wonder, like, was it really Lawrence? Because Lawrence loves racing. And Lawrence is obviously like always around at race weekends. And was it Lawrence being like, no, I'm making you, like, I will buy the team? And was Lance in the background being like, oh God, no, wait, everyone's going to make fun of me, Dad. I'm not going to have any friends. And don't you think it's fascinating? Like, I would say of the younger drivers, Esteban Ocon is really the only one who's like came up with a lot less money. And him and Lance are like very good friends.
Yeah. Which also, I think that at the very beginning of the season, when Lance was in that bicycle accident and he put out that video after the first race showing how hard he worked to come back to be able to compete in the first race, watching that video, like, definitely changed how I thought of him. Whereas, like, I've never seen him in a context where he's working this hard, pursuing his goal of being in Formula One. Which, to be fair to Lance, like, Drive to Survive has not given him a nice edit. Basically, every time he comes up, it's like he's keeping his seat while someone else is losing his seat because his dad has bought a team for him. That's like, what else have they talked about with Lance Stroll?
Maybe Lawrence should stop buying teams for him if that's not the narrative that he wants to be a part of.
But I mean, the last few races, Lance is not in Canada, but in, oh my gosh, why am I blanking? Where were we before Canada?
Spain.
Lance did a good job in Spain, but a lot of the other races, he has not been great.
Yeah, I think let's dive into another side of this. I'm obsessed with watching the way that Fernando and Hamilton are like doing so well this season. Obviously, like nobody's competing with Max, unfortunately.
And well,
But-
they're all three of those guys are being so just like friendly and buddy with each other.
Mhm.
Which the minute that anyone has a card that can actually challenge Max, that's gone.
I think you're right. I also just like I think there was a point during the last season where I was just like, I think if you're over 35, you really can't be competitive anymore. And now I'm watching, I'm like, I was completely wrong. I had this whole theory about like you lose your reflexes, it's going like you just gotta call it sometimes. And now I'm like, I'm an idiot. I also was kind of like, I think that Fernando is the only exception to this rule. But maybe I don't know. I would love to see Lewis Hamilton prove me wrong.
Do you think
Just
Hamilton is
saying.
ever gonna get his 8th championship?
No, but I think he might get another win. That's my only goal.
I definitely think he'll get another win. It's hard to see anybody beating Red Bull for a championship right now. Which I bet this is how it felt in
possible.
like 2015 with Mercedes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Hamilton is gonna want to stick around until the rules change and like see if there are differences.
Well, that's why I'm like, I think he might win a race someday.
Do you think
Upside.
Fernando Alonso is gonna win another championship?
No, but I think he might win a race someday. I'd
I
love to be
feel
proven
like
wrong.
At this point,
If I want to see anyone win a world championship,
Carlos.
I want to see Fernando. I'm a realist. I want to see Fernando.
I think that Aston Martin has a better chance of beating Red Bull in the next few years than Mercedes does.
I think you're right as well. I hope you're right. I think it's really enjoyable to watch like a totally new team come out of nowhere and just like destroy people. It's almost like, are we watching the retelling of the story of Red Bull? No, of Mercedes. Sorry. Because didn't they have Michael Schumacher? And
then who do you think is going to come in as the Lewis Hamilton of Aston Martin?
Carlos Sainz. Just kidding. I think okay. Here,
Lando Norris.
I would say
Lando Norris
Lando,
because they both came from McLaren.
Yeah, I think Lando. That would be a smart move for Lando too. Honestly,
Lando has to get out of McLaren if he wants to do.
Okay, yeah.
anything.
Let's talk about Lando during this race. So the McLarens, I don't even remember where they started. Annie? She doesn't know either. Better than the Ferraris? Or
Let
worse?
me look it up.
We don't know, Wheel.
But we're willing
fun.
to learn and do research while
Yeah.
we're on the pod instead of just making things up.
Oh, I didn't look up Canadian human rights abuses, guys, but I'm sure that they're out there.
I honestly feel like Canada is one of the like.
No, and nobody is.
I'm not saying they're perfect in any way, shape, or form. I'm saying they're probably one of the best out of all the countries that Formula One travels to.
Okay, fine, but I'm still gonna. I'll look. Let's talk about the McLarens. They did.
Lando was 7th. Piastri was 9th.
Okay, so they started better
But
than the Ferraris.
This is before any penalties got applied.
So then they did even better.
Piastri moved up a spot for sure. I think that was it. Because Sainz got dropped.
Because Sainz was 8th. And then dropped to 11th. So Lando got a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. Which Okay, when I read up more on this, I was like, what the heck? Literally, like, he got a penalty that came from like the International Sporting Handbook or whatever.
I
This
don't
is the real
know.
we don't know wheel. That's where it came from, per the article I read, or something adjacent to that, similar words. But basically it's just like a catch-all for like, we think you weren't acting like in the ways that someone who was like really cared about honoring the sport would act. Like, and
It's
I'm
just a
just like,
catch-all
I'm
when they don't have
sorry.
something that it specifically
Yes.
applies to.
There is no rule that says that you cannot slow down before going into the pits. There's no rule. He didn't break any of the existing rules about like speed limit or distance between cars or anything like that during the safety car. It was literally just them being like,
He just
let's
like
give him a
didn't
penalty.
he went too slow for his delta,
And
which
he,
apparently drivers
even
do
with
all
that,
the time.
yeah, he talked about that a little bit where he was like, my delta was like 50 miles per hour. Is it miles per hour? What is it in, Annie?
Probably kph.
kph, thank you. 50 kph. But there's plenty of times when people have a delta that's like 100 kph. And like, just go back and look, and like, none of these people are getting penalties, which brings us, I think, again to the Gunther Steiner of it all. No, but just the like,
I really don't
why
understand
are the
why they
rules
gave him that
allowed to
penalty.
be applied in all different ways? But also, yeah, like I just don't think it's right to just pick and choose a rule. Like, if you don't like that, change the rule book. Don't
there
just
totally
apply
have
a
been-
penalty.
Yeah, there totally have been times in the past where drivers have slowed down to create more of a buffer when they're going to do it,
Yeah.
like double stack, especially during safety car. Like, that totally happens.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
also like,
it seems
it's
wild
smart.
that they're penalizing Lando for this, just
Yeah,
randomly out of the blue.
it's
And not only are they penalizing Lando, they didn't give any penalties for like unsafe releases, where there were two examples of the first one was Fernando and Hamilton,
Lewis.
really close when they were both coming out of the pits. And I don't even remember what the second one was.
Was it
I want to say
Norris?
Lando was involved in the second one.
Or
but I
was it
could be
Ferrari?
mistaken.
Because there was definitely a moment where, no, that was earlier in the week, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's wild to me that like those unsafe release penalties seem much more clear, and yet they just got completely waved over.
Yeah. To me, I'm really like, how can you just essentially, they like created a rule in the middle of the race, and that's such a like generic term. Like, it's just generally behaving in a way that doesn't seem in the spirit of fairness. And it's like, well, the point is to win. So, and especially with something with like Formula One, it's like, well, there's no such thing as the spirit of fairness. They literally have different amounts of money, and they get a lot of different amounts of money and different amounts of like aero time. And like, so you're telling me they're supposed to behave in the spirit of fairness? No, they're supposed to win the race. And if they're smart enough to know to slow down so that they can double stack their pits, that's smart.
That's what they do.
That's called how you win. That's so nuts. Like, the whole point is like your tire strategy and your pitting strategy. And he says he wasn't even thinking about that. But even if he was, it's like, isn't that just smart? Am I being dumb about this? Is there like something more that I'm not getting here?
No, I think you're spot on. I think it's just silly that they
Am
in the
I
middle
a
of the race
full-on
made this
Lando
rule.
apologist?
I think one of the funniest parts about the whole situation was that his team would not
wouldn't tell
him
him
like what it was for during the race. And
Yeah.
my guess is they did that because if they told him, he would have
was
just
gonna get
like,
so mad.
yes.
Yeah.
I would have
so
been.
mad.
And he would have started bad mouthing the stewards at the FAA on the radio.
Yeah, I really liked his response when he was getting interviewed in the media pen, and they were like, "What do you think about this?" And he was like, "Well, I wasn't being unsportsmanlike." It was like,
Me,
yeah, I think you might be right.
unsportsmanlike.
Like, I don't know, it's just so nutty. And like, I don't know, if they want to have a rule about that, then make a rule. But
Yeah.
to just pick and choose is so nutty. Like, oh, and the last thing I'll say about this is I feel like I've heard people talk about, and I think this is like a fair way to think about this standard is like, I still don't think you should just make up a rule, but when applying penalties, it's important to be thoughtful about like, did they gain a benefit from what they did? And it's like, he gained a little benefit, but did he like put anyone at a disadvantage? Not
Well,
really.
the people who were pitting behind him, if he hadn't slowed down, could have theoretically gotten out in front of him because he was going to have to take longer when they were doing the double stack.
Yeah.
So that does give him an advantage. But
Then
the
they should
key
make
to
a
me
rule
is
about
that
it.
drivers have done this in the past and absolutely nothing was said about it.
Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden they're changing the rule in the middle of a race without having told the drivers.
Well, and I think it also makes me think about like when for a while in Formula One, they tried to ban team orders. And
They
it's like,
did.
yeah, I feel
When
like
was
in
that?
like the 2000s, like early 2000s, late 90s, I could be wrong on that.
Really?
Fact
It's like
check me,
Michael
people.
Schumacher era.
Yes, they tried to ban team orders, so then teams would like secretly give team orders, and it's like, and to me, stuff like that becomes like, okay, you're not going to like,
You cannot police everything.
you can't police everything, and
You pick and choose your
for
battles.
yeah, I guess as a viewer, and I have my own perspective, I'm just like, I actually enjoy watching people be thoughtful and creative. Like, that's the fun part. So like, yeah, there's a desire for fairness, and I think that's good too, but it's also like, no one's out here saying that a pit stop needs to last 3.5 seconds, and if it doesn't, you need to wait because it wouldn't be fair. Like, everyone's
Yeah.
doing their best. Like, do your best, use your biggest brain.
And they're all supposed to be ruthlessly competitive.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, let's talk about ruthlessly competitive with Pierre and Carlos. And also basically the entire F1 grid and Yuki. Oh, during Q1 in qualifying, that's why Carlos got the penalty. He was like going super slow before the last lap and he impeded Pierre. And Pierre was so mad. He was like, he should get a ban for that. Like, I was like, okay, you should get a ban for that.
Off on the radio.
Also, like, just recently, I feel like I saw something from Pierre where he was like, they were asking who his best friends in F1 were, and he was like, Charles, and then Carlos and Yuki. It was Charles, Yuki, Carlos.
Really?
So when he was like, Carlos should get a ban for that, I was like, whoa. It goes from 0 to 100 with these guys. I mean, I guess that's their whole jobs, but like,
yeah, it was intense.
he was so mad.
But did you see IndyCar this weekend? Will Power, when he was interviewed after like a practice session, said like Romain Grosjean is like awful. He should be punched in the face.
I saw this.
So intense, so crazy. And I didn't see the video of what happened. I don't even know if there is video because it was just practice session. There must be.
IndyCar doesn't even do video of the practice session.
Formula
One's like,
so
we won't
much
even
harder to follow what is going on in IndyCar. Even like, okay, so they have an app, but when you watch it on the app, it's not a live stream of the race. It's a like watching the dots of the cars go around the track and updates on the bottom. It sucks. Anyways, yeah, it just like all of these drivers are so insanely competitive that it feels like quite often they kind of contain it under the surface, And like when they're not in the car and when they're in like media settings, they'll be all friendly and nice and joking around with each other, and like it's super fun and super cute to watch. But when it comes out, it is intense.
Yeah. Well, because the Charles, it was who Yuki impeded Yuki impeded multiple people. I think Carlos's excuse about the impeding, like he wasn't like I shouldn't be punished, but he was basically like, I mean, everyone was impeding everyone out there, and
Yeah,
like I
I
got
love
impeded
Carlos,
7
but
times.
his was particularly bad.
Oh, his was particularly bad. And it was like, not only did you impede in like a dangerous area of the track, but you impeded at the last second so Pierre could not get his last lap.
Mhm.
He's gonna be mad.
Yeah.
But Yuki impeded Charles and a few other people. And Fernando. I think he caught the ire of Fernando this weekend.
Always dangerous.
Charles was like, that Yuki is a real and they like went off, and I was just like, whoa, Charles, he's always so friendly. And it was so strange because it was like when Pierre was yelling, you were like, he's very mad right now, like it felt in the heat of the moment. But because
And we've seen Pierre mad like that before, like at Suzuka last
Yeah.
year with the tractor on track. You could see and feel his anger. So like,
Yeah. I
more
love it when
expected.
Pierre gets worked up.
It's kind of awesome.
I do. I like to watch it.
Charles, he's usually so self-contained or mad at himself.
Yes. Yeah. It's like when you see him get angry, he's angry at himself. And he was not, it didn't feel like he was angry because he said it in this really calm voice. And he was just like, you know, I feel like Yuki's being a real D-head this weekend. And I was like, why do you sound so calm? Like, what's happening?
It's all of
But
the
yeah.
years of Ferrari torture just turning his emotions into a vice script that cannot escape.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But Ferrari actually had
there was a lot of impeding.
good strategy this weekend. Should we talk about that?
Yeah. I was like, oh my
Not
goodness,
only good
thank
strategy,
goodness.
but also good pace.
Yeah, like good-ish, but I mean, they only got
Impressively good.
was it 4th and 5th?
4th and 5th.
Because they did a one-stop strategy, and literally everyone else except Alex Albon did a 2-stop.
Checo. Oh, except for Checo pitted for fastest lap. Checo was basically sitting behind the Ferraris the entire race because they started 10th, 11th, and 12th, and they ended up 4th, 5th, and 6th.
But he was really falling back from the Ferraris by the end of the race. I was like, what is happening to him out there?
So, well, I think part of it was just Ferrari had a really good race where the temperature was cooler than a lot of tracks, which helps them because the tire deck is less. And their car seems to do better in the cooler temperatures with keeping their tires warm. Where at hot tracks, their tires are overheating, and other cars are just like doing great, like Red Bulls. Checo he's been struggle busing it. It's so hard to watch. And I watched the race with a few friends, and I was just like, I was very glad I was with them because I was miserable the whole time. I'm just like, how is, first of all, like no one could pass during the race. It felt like all of the change in positions was happening as a result of strategy, except for some people in the back. Yeah. And second, Checo could just get nowhere. And I think it's partially Ferrari had a good weekend, partially Checo was struggle busing, and I don't understand why. And 3 bad weekends in a row, which sucks.
It definitely, it's so hard to tell, but it did feel maybe a little like the Red Bull stayed the same, and maybe like Mercedes, Aston Martin, Ferrari took like a step up from where they had been, because Max was not as dominant this weekend either.
Not at all. He's less than 10 seconds ahead.
Yeah. But
which, I mean, what's been kind of normal for this year is the Red Bull to be 30 seconds ahead.
Yeah.
Which plays into my theory that Like, as much as Checo had a not good weekend, Ferrari also had a good weekend, and that made him look worse.
Which Ferrari really didn't have a good weekend. I feel like 4th and 5th should not be counted as a good weekend. They're
This year
still
it is
like
good, Grace. I'm sorry,
way
but
out
it
of the
is.
Constructors Championship. Like they're nowhere near the
Are they
top 3
solidly
teams.
in 4th?
They're solidly in 4th. They're like
Mhm.
30 to 50 points behind.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like,
If it makes you feel any better, Fernando is not that far behind Checo anymore.
oh, I was going to say, I assumed Fernando was ahead of Checo.
Checo's won
Sorry.
2 races.
Yeah, but Fernando's been like very consistently second in almost every race.
Or 3rd.
Yeah.
When Checo's doing well, he's 3rd.
Consistency is key. Carlos is like, I'm 5th every race. And that's
Is Carlos ahead of Charles right now? He must be.
yes.
Yeah.
Carlos has also been out qualifying Charles this season.
Mm-hmm. Except for like Baku, Charles was just like insane.
On another level.
Yes.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah.
It's like when Charles is tuned on with the car, he's like, he's somewhere else. But it seems like that's not consistent.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think my biggest question about Ferrari right now is just how much longer is Charles going to want to stay there?
Oh, I think for life.
I mean, he loves Ferrari, but also at some point, don't you have to just say to yourself, like, I care more about winning a world championship than staying with Ferrari?
Well, okay, let's
Like,
transfer that over
really?
to Le Mans and talk about Antonio Giovinazzi.
Yeah, Le Mans winner.
Is he Ferrari reserve?
Mm-hmm.
And he's
Former
a
Alfa Romeo.
Alfa Romeo driver who just won Le Mans with Ferrari.
Yeah, Ferrari, the headline I kept seeing is that they hadn't raced Le Mans for more than 50 years. And not only did they qualify 1st and 2nd, they won the race. Go Ferrari.
Incredible. Like, hooray for Antonio Giovinazzi. The true, like, child of Italy. Like,
yes,
he's beloved. But also, like, you just think about Carlos and Charles, and they're like, we might drive them.
Did you see the video? Carlos was being asked about the possibility of driving Le Mans, and he was talking about wanting to do it possibly with Ferrari, and they said, and one interviewer said, like, with your dad, and he was like, no, with Charles.
Yes, I saw that and I loved it.
Cute.
I feel like he was like, my dad could not drive a hypercar.
I mean, if his dad can still drive a rally car at like world championship caliber.
I thought his point was like they're different skills.
That's fair. That is true.
Yeah.
Whereas endurance, skills. I think, is much more similar to Formula One.
Yeah.
In a way.
That sounds crazy. But yeah, so maybe Charles will stay with Ferrari, but only if they allow him to drive Le Mans so he can win the championship. Maybe Ferrari will enter the Indy 500.
Yeah.
Have they ever done that?
I don't think Ferrari has ever done IndyCar, to my knowledge.
So and they can get the Triple Crown. You'd think they'd want that.
You would think so.
But maybe they're like, we don't even acknowledge America.
Well, and also to get the Triple Crown, you have to be able to win Monaco.
Yeah, but I'm saying like Ferrari as the full team.
Yeah.
And I assume someone from Ferrari has won Monaco at least once. Yes, of course. Yeah. Maybe that's where Ferrari should be putting their energy. Like they're never going to get the WDC. Is that the World Driver Champion?
Yeah.
So they should just try to get Charles the Triple Crown instead.
Yeah. I don't know. In the world of motorsport, Max Verstappen is a name that anybody who follows motorsport is gonna know. Marcus Ericsson, who won the Indy 500, Antonio Giovinazzi, who won Le Mans. Not as many people.
I
are
love that
gonna
you're like,
actually
people
know
don't
them.
even know them.
I mean, if you follow IndyCar or you follow Le Mans, you would. But I feel like the prestige is not exactly the same.
I don't think that those guys care about like worldwide prestige. I think they care about racing prestige. I think it's like me
Right. I
being
still
like,
think racing prestige, there's so much more with winning a Formula One world championship than anything else.
that's classist, Anne. I just don't know if I just think like that they're all interested in all of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
But okay, here's what I'll say. Max Verstappen could literally be driving in any championship that he wanted to right now. He wants to do Formula One.
Sure, but I think you can say that about like a lot of things. I don't know. We're really gonna
Don't
get
you think
into,
that any driver in
I'm
Formula
gonna make
E or IndyCar or the World Endurance Championship, if given the opportunity to drive in Formula One, wouldn't they take it?
I don't know, because I'm gonna make a statement here and maybe it's very uneducated, but like to me, I feel like that's like when people are like, they talk to nurses and they're like, but you're so smart, you could have been a doctor. And it's like they're actually different jobs.
That's fair.
Like,
Or
I
like
didn't
how
want to
mom
be
and
a
dad always tell
doctor.
me that I could be a really good principal, and I say I absolutely never want that job.
So I wonder, I like assume that there are genuinely people who like, I think you're right. There are probably some people who are like, I wish I was in Formula One, but if I'm not, I'm going to do IndyCar or I'm going to do, you know,
And I
Le
think there
Mans or
are
whatever. But I
there
think
are
there's also probably people who are like, I do not want to spend my life traveling the world and not seeing my family. And I'm going to do a different form of racing that allows me to do less time on the road and be home more.
yeah.
Or they just like a different thing better. I think maybe the more apt comparison would be like rally to Formula One. Like the people who do rally don't wish that they could be Formula One drivers. They like rally.
Yeah, that's fair.
And like Max, I feel like has been talking a lot about, or maybe people are just re-quoting the same interview where he was basically like, it doesn't hold interest to me to just win this championship over and over again. I'm going to go do something else. I love that.
Well,
that's my favorite part about
yes.
Max.
He will say whatever's on his mind. And the way I interpret those statements is that he's saying, like, I don't want to be Fernando and still racing in Formula One when I'm 41 years old. I want to win a bunch of championships and then go off and do other fun stuff.
I think he wants to do other races. That was what he's saying explicitly.
Oh, absolutely.
But Fernando literally has gone, he wants to be Fernando because Fernando has done like all the racing.
Yes.
So that was a bad comparison. But I do think like, okay, let's do a brief, like, I know right away who my answer is, but like, who do you think is the most like upset? Like just, he has a one-track mind. He lives to race. He races to live.
Fernando.
He really doesn't care about anything else. It's obviously Fernando.
Max is a very close second.
Yeah, maybe. I don't even.
Well,
I'm not
to me,
convinced
it seems
about
like
Max.
every
I think that's all Yost.
I think. Well, I don't think so, because when Max isn't racing with Formula One, what is he doing?
He's doing
sim racing.
What's Fernando doing when he's not racing?
Go-karting.
Yeah. What's Charles doing when he's not racing?
Crying.
Stop it, Anne. You can't say that. No, he's making music. He's making beautiful music. Actually, let's run through the drivers on this one. What's Yuki doing when he's not driving?
Eating.
That's right. What's Pierre doing when he's not driving?
Watching other sports. He actually talked about that in an interview recently. And
I was
going
gonna
to
be like,
see
hitting
other
on
sports in
girls.
person.
That sounds true though. I have heard him talk about like being obsessed with
All of them, the
basketball and
sports.
like, yeah.
Tennis, golf, everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think they all like sports. What's Lando doing when he's not driving?
Golf or quadrant.
Yeah. Hanging out with Carlos Sainz.
Yeah. What is Carlos doing?
What is Carlos doing?
Golf.
Golf or hanging out with his dog?
Mm-hmm.
He's tanning.
What is Lewis doing?
Fashion.
And
I've heard him talk
Shakira.
about if he wasn't a Formula One driver, he would be a fashion designer.
Well,
and
I
that
mean, he's
feels
already
very
partially an
true.
employee of Tommy Hilfiger.
I love that for him. Okay. Brief foray into gossip, and then we come back to this. Fernando Alonso dating Shakira. I also saw
Lewis
like a
Hamilton.
TikTok. Oh, Fernando Alonso. Here's the real fresh rumor. It's Fernando. No, Anne is right. It's Lewis Hamilton dating Shakira allegedly. And also I saw
allegedly, Tom Cruise is unhappy about this because he had hung out with Shakira in Miami and was like, "We're vibing. This is great. I really like her."
And allegedly it's Carlos Sainz who set them up.
That's
That's the best
really
part. That
wild
part cannot be real, but maybe it is.
How does Carlos?
But
have
Carlos
Shakira?
Sainz is always going around telling these guys like, "Oh, you should get a girlfriend." And I don't know why he's doing that. It seems nuts, but there's literally a video of him and Lando, and it's like back when they were teammates at McLaren. I feel like their first year as teammates, and they're like being interviewed, and they're saying like, "What's the best advice you ever got?" They asked Lando, "What's the best advice you ever got from Carlos?" And Lando says to get a girlfriend, and you're like, "What?
What is Carlos doing?
Is that a competitive tactic?" Because like definitely I feel like Lewis Hamilton is like, I'm so focused in on winning. I have never had a girlfriend. I mean, he has in the past, but then he started winning and he was like, you can't have a girlfriend and win. And I also wonder about Fernando right now. Is that why he broke up with his girlfriend? Like he's focused.
I have no
Stop
idea.
laughing, Nan. But yeah, so this is actually Carlos Sainz introduced them to try and push Hamilton out of contention and help Ferrari up a few places.
Maybe the real reason that Carlos was fake dating Issa was so that he could avoid questions about having a girlfriend while pretending to have a girlfriend, but not having to actually spend time with having a
And
girlfriend.
you're saying this as a joke, but I have definitely read Tumblr rumors where they basically said that. Like they were like, oh, he's fake dating her because he wants to focus on racing. And that's why he told Lando that too. That's serious stuff, Annie. Okay. Valtteri Bottas. He's not racing. He's
biking.
Love that. Or like he's got a chain of coffee shops.
Well, yeah, it seems like he's constantly
You're like,
doing
he
events
literally
for
does.
either biking or gin or coffee.
Yeah. Oh, also like I love like who is doing Alfa Romeo's merch because it's really good. Their team merch, meh. Race to race, really good. And why are more teams not doing this good merch, right? Like they had those cute Australia hats that were like green with kangaroos. And in Canada, they had like lager gear. And it was like, yeah, they're literally taking a page out of Daniel Ricciardo's book. And that's what every single team should be doing.
Yeah. Which also like the team whose merch I see or I follow most closely is Red Bull merch. But anytime they have like race to race stuff, it's always kind of lame.
It's ugly.
Where like Checo
like their
had a
Miami
Canada
stuff
hat this weekend, but it was just like all sorts of like it was like a polka dot hat. It was so weird and random and not very cute. Their Miami stuff was
Well,
lame.
yeah, lame. You know who's doing like literally 0% with that is like Ferrari. Ferrari's like,
Oh yeah.
LOL.
If they could be making so much money, if they just had good merch.
Yeah. Ferrari wouldn't even have to do like race to race stuff. Like Ferrari just needs to make their like fashion merchandise like reasonably priced, because I'm ready to buy those $800 sweatshirts and t-shirts. I'm not going to do it because I haven't lost my mind yet, and we're no longer in the middle of a global pandemic where I would make really
Poor decisions.
questionable purchases. But why is Ferrari not like it would take so, like, I know they can make good merch. They just won't for me, and it hurts my feelings.
Well, and they have good merch made already. They just need to make it affordable by selling
Yeah.
the cute designs in not designer clothing, so it doesn't cost $800 for a
Yeah.
sweater.
Well, and let's talk about, I'm going to do a little shout out on the pod, because I was like, oh, I want to see if I can find some cute Alex Albon merch, because we should get to that next. But what a drive from Alex Albon. So I went looking for merch for him, and I found a really, really cute merch store called the Girl Gang Paddock Club on Etsy. And they say feminine F1 fashion, but it's all like like floral cars, pastels with your favorite drivers. And I'm like, this is 1,000% my aesthetic. I feel like Danny
So
Rick,
fun.
his best merch drops where like everything sells out immediately is always the like Enchanté Cafe, like Monaco floral. Like the girlies want it. Give it to us. What are we doing?
Yes. Because
It's like they don't want to make money on us.
most guys who want to buy Formula One merch are going to buy the t-shirts and the hat that look just like what the team wears on a regular basis. And
Which I'm also
there's
like,
a
why
market
would you
for
want to
that.
look like that?
There's a market for that. I don't judge people who want merch like that, but there's a
I
huge
judge them.
market
No.
of people who don't want merch like that, but still want Formula One merch, but that's like cute and fun, but also still has your team on it or your driver.
Well, and also like I would say it's not just like the girlies who want the cute like alternative merch. Like there's
100%.
a market for everyone out there,
Yes.
and they're missing it.
Yes.
Or only a few teams are getting it.
Yes.
Like
Alfa
even
Romeo is
McLaren,
getting it. Ferrari is.
McLaren, like what are they doing? If McLaren's doing anything, they should be getting that merch.
They really should. Which, I mean, Lando got them to get sweatshirts, but I feel like beyond just having hoodies.
Also, I love that Lando was like, I had to get them to make sweatshirts, and they're literally just like exactly the team kit. And they were like, what if we sewed a hood on it? And you're like, I guess it's a sweatshirt in the most literal sense.
I think it was just about Lando wanting to be able to wear that around the track.
Yeah, no,
That's
I got
all.
that.
Because it needed to be like in the team kit still.
Yeah. But I'm saying like, make it better. Make it better. Also, like, I mean, even if you flash back, like, I think my favorite Formula One merch is like 80s, 90s. Like, United Colors of Bennington, like, it can be better. Why do they want to do us like this?
And I feel like so many Formula One teams are getting so much better about understanding the social media aspect of
maybe like, next year the merch will be like on point.
But they had the next step to get to the merch has not come yet.
Yeah.
The social media 100% is there for most of the teams. Because
like I'm a sucker, and I want to buy merch from Williams for Alex that I think is like fun and cute, but it doesn't exist. And same with like Gasly.
Yes.
Just out here like, I'm gonna buy from like an Etsy shop because I want it to be cute.
We want to support the Formula One teams, but they don't have good merch.
Come on, guys, help a girl out. Yeah.
Do we want to go back to the list of drivers?
Oh yeah. Okay. Alex Albon. He's not racing. He's
With his girlfriend at a golf tournament?
That's really good. I was gonna say like with his pets.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Jogan Yu. He's not racing. He's
Designing merch.
yeah,
don't
I
know.
think so. I wonder if he's
He
a part
does
of
like
that. I mean,
fashion.
he's definitely a fashion guy. We love to
When-
see another fashion man in the paddock.
When
Thank
Lewis
goodness.
Hamilton eventually retires, if Joe Gunyu is still around, he's going to take on the fashion mantle.
Yeah. Lance Stroll, he's not driving. He's
Surfing.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Surfing. His daddy's buying him a piece of the ocean.
hmm
Who am I missing? Is this really showing my bias?
Checo.
Checo. Oh, yeah. When Checo's not driving, he's
Taking care of his kids.
yeah. I was gonna say something with family. George Russell, he's not driving. He's
On vacation with his girlfriend.
yeah. Why is his life so luxury? Oceans.
Oh.
I mean, I guess I do have to say, like, if I had to be like, if part of my job demanded social media, I would just save up pictures from vacation. Like, I'm like, you're not seeing my day to day. Sorry, babe. Like, no, I don't. That's not my desire. Yeah. I really feel like I'm missing some people here. Oh, I
Nick
missed both the
DeVries?
Haas boys.
Oh,
Nick DeVries. He's not driving. He's
I have no
I don't know.
idea.
Nikki, you got to tell
Yes.
us more about you.
Working
I
out.
was
or
all
on a
ready to love
simulator.
you, and things are getting dark out.
I know.
It's not good. Okay, wait. I'm ready to. Let's
think he's been
round up
doing
the
well
Haas
enough.
boys.
So to avoid getting replaced at the summer break, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that the AlphaTauri is just not very good.
Oh no, it's terrible. It's 10th in the constructors.
Yeah. No, I'm aware. I watch. I'm paying
Alex
attention,
got
Annie.
7th.
Yeah, let's celebrate Alex for a second. Second place, what a man. He's teaching the class on tire management. Checo's on the poster in the back, but actually Alex might be on the poster. And it was like so enjoyable to watch as well. Like, I know it's just a DRS train, but I was like,
Oh my gosh.
I mean, he's doing it.
it felt like
He
the
took
whole
out George
race
Russell.
was just DRS trains.
Yeah, it was. But I still like kind of
Sucked.
enjoyed it.
The first half of the race before the safety car, like 2/3 of the grid was in one giant DRS train.
Oh, yeah. That was incredible.
Insane.
Insane.
Made it.
Yeah, I
ugh,
mean,
it contributed to me being very annoyed with the race.
I love it you were annoyed with it. And I was like, this is luxury. Get that
Ferrari's
DRS train,
actually
Alex.
gonna score some points.
Yeah. Yeah.
Haas boys.
Yeah. The Haas boys. Okay, Kevin's not
It's your
racing.
turn.
He's
What do you think?
my turn. I don't even know anything
I've
about
done, like,
Kevin.
all
I was
of the
just gonna
others,
say, like, he's
Grace.
hanging out with his family. He's really giving dad vibes these days. And
Yeah.
same with Nico. Sorry, the Haas boys,
Mhm.
they're dads.
Mhm.
Let's dig into the Haas for a second just to say, like, wow, Nico Hulkenberg, P2, baby.
Me too, which turned
That-
into a
the
P5.
Haas has literally no race pace.
It's like Ferrari, but way worse.
They can't even get points.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, like, okay, Annie, explain what happened in Q3.
Did you ever go back and watch qualifying? Okay, so Q3. Okay, it actually helps if I do all three of them. So Q1, when it started, it was like just barely drizzling, but the track was really wet from before. So they all used inters the whole time. Q2 starts, Alex comes out on slicks. Everybody else
The tire
is
man.
on inters. And then most of them switch to slicks, and then about halfway through Q2, the rain starts again and starts to get heavier, so they all switch back to inters. Q3 starts, they're all on inters. They basically everybody gets a chance to do one really fast lap, and then most people are going around for a second one, and Oscar Piastri crashes, red flag. Nico Hulkenberg crosses the line to set a really fast lap time to get the P2 seconds before the red flag gets thrown. And then when the red flag is done, the rain has increased to the point that nobody's able to go faster than what they had been doing previously.
Incredible. Wait, okay. Yeah. Okay. It's all making sense to me.
And then Nico got a
I'm right
penalty
here.
because he
He
didn't slow
impeded.
down fast enough when the red flag got thrown.
That's so mean.
I know. And then during the race, he also pitted shortly before the safety car.
Yeah, unlucky.
So that kind of screwed him.
Yeah. But also like the Haas cannot keep up.
They have really bad dug on their tires. Like Ferrari does, but worse.
Haas. Wait. I thought of who I was missing, but now I can't remember. I'm missing one driver, I think. Do you know who it is?
I'm going through the teams. Oscar Piastri.
Oscar Piastri. He's not racing. I need to get to know Oscar better too. He seems like a really genuine, sweet kid.
He does. And very, very chill. Like his personality trait is he's chill. I don't know. Sleeping. I think
Hanging out with
he's
his
answered that
girlfriend.
in an interview before.
Oh, I know who I thought of and that I was excited to say. Logan Sargent. He's not racing. He's
watching NFL.
It's horrible, Anne.
What would you say, Grace?
I was gonna say like watching The Wolf of Wall Street.
Because he's watched that like 5 times.
What is that clip, the meme that keeps going around where Logan Sargent, or it's gotta be from an Adam Sandler movie, and it's like someone being like, God bless America and start your engines or something. Do you know what I'm talking about? And then it's like the sound of an eagle, like, rah! It's really got like strong Colbert vibes.
Like Colbert Report vibes, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think that what Logan should do is like strongly embrace his American roots and do like Ricky Bobby themed merch in that sort of way, like in a ironic way, like in the Danny Rick way.
Yes. Yes.
That would be enjoyable. Yes. But he has to be careful because he is obviously a Trumper.
Oh.
How many of these guys do you think got tangentially like named in the Panama Papers? Because I know that multiple previous F1 drivers were named in the Panama Papers.
Max.
Yeah, like if you have a dad in racing, yeah.
So, I mean, Kevin could then be in it. I don't know if his dad
If he
was ever
hasn't-
successful enough to have that much money, though.
He's successful enough to tax defraud.
I mean, Carlos has a dad in racing. I have
And
no
connections
idea.
to like the Spanish
Oh, the
royal family.
Strolls.
So
The Strolls, 100%.
I like it. I was just say like a number, like 7.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Annie. No, yeah, that's a. But overall, I actually enjoyed the race because Ferrari finally did something right. Oh yeah, let's talk so briefly about this, but like I feel like I never even heard Charles on the radio except for once for his engineer to be like box.
Yeah.
I heard like the tiniest bit of Carlos. They cut to Carlos a couple times on the radio. They like a
Mhm.
cut to Carlos. They think he's doing something interesting.
Because he will actually challenge Ferrari's strategy.
Yeah, I liked when he was obviously I liked when he was like, I'm feeling really good about the tire dag. Like, let me keep going.
Oh, did you hear that Max ran over a bird early in the
bird.
race?
Yes.
And not only did he run over a bird, but the like part of the body of the bird got lodged in it, like his
The bird was still there.
tailpipe
Yes.
or something. Did you see the picture of it?
I didn't hear tailpipe, but I heard that it was still on the car and it was going to have to be removed. He should have been. Wasn't there something with Sebastian Vettel where he like swerved to avoid a bird or something?
I know that drivers have swerved to avoid groundhogs in Canada before.
Love that.
But,
yeah, and you
there
have
was-
your
there's a-
own personal groundhog.
Oh. Yeah, I have a tree that has berries on it in my yard that are currently dropping all over the yard, and a local groundhog has decided that it is his favorite afternoon and mid-morning and evening snack. And
Is it a mulberry tree?
yeah,
Are
It
you
is.
using the mulberries at least?
no, because squirrels and birds and now this groundhog they're up in the tree in the berries all the time. I don't want to eat those berries that have like been walked over by animals.
I don't know. You know me. I'm a forager. I only eat fruit that I find in the wild.
But yeah, no, I've been making friends with the groundhog.
Love it. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Alex Albon's race. I'm happy to see Ferrari in 4th and 5th. I loved Fernando and Hamilton like racing each other.
And
George
those
Russell
two
got
with
out.
Max on the podium.
I'm happy.
I did not expect them to be such a like happy buddy trio, but they really were. It was adorable.
I think that it's so fascinating, but it's 100% true. Like as a like kind of reigning world champion comes off of that and starts to become less successful, they become more likable. It's like they're coming
Oh,
out of their
100%.
overexposure and they're back down into like likable range. Like Lewis Hamilton is reestablishing his likability.
Yes.
Fernando's always been there. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I think Seb is the most extreme example of that, where he was
Yeah.
really hated when he was winning for those 4 years,
Yeah.
destroying everyone. And he was so beloved and is so beloved still.
Yeah.
After he stopped winning.
Yep.
I don't know. I also
Yep.
like, I really could not stand Hamilton the last few years when Mercedes was winning. And in the title fight between Max and Lewis, I was full on hardcore cheering for Max to win, just because I wanted like someone different besides Mercedes.
You're the opposite
besides
of the
Lewis.
rest of the family.
The rest of the family hates Max, and I'm well aware. But I feel like in the last 2 years, I've grown to like Max less and like Lewis more.
Yeah. I think the true family tradition would be to like an underdog. Like, are you really abuses if you are not a fan of someone who's truly never going to have a shot at the championship?
Are you truly a Minnesotan if you don't cheer for an underdog team that's never going to win? But we'll give you hope that they might win.
Yeah. Is being a fan of the Vikings akin to being a fan of Ferrari?
That's actually a perfect analogy.
Except for Ferrari, like, have won a world championship in the past.
Yes. Honestly, I feel like it could be more akin to being a fan of McLaren.
I know, but I think maybe Ferrari's a better like comparison because Ferrari will get your hopes up.
Yeah.
McLaren's not getting your hopes up. Like, McLaren gets your hopes up before the season starts, and when they're like, we really a good car, the season starts, and you're like, it's a tractor again.
Their 2020 and 2021 seasons were like progressively getting better. And then it just all disappeared.
Carlos left. I wonder about that.
For the record, I've never claimed that Aston Martin sucked the last 2 years because Checo left.
Okay. I was gonna say, I wonder if part of the success that Aston Martin is having is because of Seb.
Yeah, I have no idea. It would be fast that if I could be inside of any one team to watch how they
want to be an
operate
Aston
and
Martin.
how things are happening, it'd be Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Because it'd be so fascinating to see what the involvement of Lawrence Stroll actually looks like. And it'd be so fascinating to see what they're doing that is allowing them to like jump up in the championship the way that they did.
Go get a job with them, Annie. I think you could jump to PR.
What job should I get with them, Grace?
Catering. You told me you wanted to get into baking. What's holding you back, Annie? You shouldn't have gotten a job. You should have gone and worked for Aston Martin as a caterer. I saw
Dad was convinced that I should have
Ferrari
gone to work for a IndyCar team in Indianapolis.
I don't think they have cateries.
Never catering, but like doing something else for them.
Okay.
Well, he thinks I should like work for the company that owns IndyCar because I was able to tell him all the things that they're doing wrong.
They need you, Anne. He's not wrong. I think you should do that.
If my new teaching job doesn't work out, maybe I'll think about it.
I love that. He doesn't tell me I should go work in F1.
I also spend a lot more time just hanging out at their house watching racing stuff than you do.
I try my best. I watched part of qualifying with Mom and Dad this weekend, and at one point Dad was asleep, and then he woke up and Mom was asleep.
Love it. Cute. Classic Beezus family moment.
Yeah, but
well, speaking of which, we're gonna be together for the next race.
Yay!
Next race is Austria. I'm taking advantage of my summer vacation to go visit Grace.
Yeah,
So we'll actually be together.
that's going to be exciting.
So
Austria,
exciting.
the
What?
European summer is upon us. I'm psyched.
Yeah, and there's only like 4 more races till we're going to be at the race.
Is it? I don't even think it's 4, Annie.
So it's Austria. Isn't there one
Is it-
between Austria and Silverstone?
Oh, Spain. I'm just kidding. That's obviously not Spain. Oh, it's getting a little gusty out there.
Really?
I'm looking it up. No, you look it up. You look it up, Anne. I'm
working
looking
on
up
it.
Canadian human rights.
You were right, Grace. It's just Austria, Great Britain, and then Hungary.
I'm
Ah!
excited. Okay.
Coming up so soon.
Per Canada, they have a consistently strong voice in the protection of human rights. Just kidding.
I think
Okay.
Okay, I stand by what I said earlier. I also think Canada gets off easy when it comes to looking like they have good human rights because they're being compared to the United States all the time.
Okay. Okay, Canada is considered the 4th freest country out of 185 countries. Okay, Anne might be right. Anne might be right.
What are the
I
countries
thought that
ahead
you
of
were
it?
gonna take this over now that school's out. um,
What are the countries ahead of it? Let me guess.
what?
Switzerland? No.
So freedom in the world, they were ranked 4th freest. According to the Democracy Index, they were 6th out of 167 countries. The annual Worldwide Press Freedom Index ranked them 18 out of 180 countries in 2018. And the Corruption Perceptions Index, which I love that name, they were 9th out of 180. So, okay, they might be doing well. Maybe we should only race in Canada. Maybe Lawrence Stroll isn't such a bad billionaire. But where do you think Lawrence Stroll's like permanent residence is?
I have no idea. Because like their team is based out of the UK. But I don't know how much time he actually spends like in their factories or working with the team.
Let's get his tax accountant on for the next episode.
Good luck with that, Grace.
It's all about getting those connections where you can, getting those guest stars where you can.
Well, thanks for joining us.
If the women
everybody.
don't find you handy, they should at least find you handsome. No, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. What is that from?
Yeah, the Red Green Show. It's Canadian.
That's what I was gonna say.
If the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Keep your stick on the ice.
Oh man. I will say, if any
TM,
country in the
just
world
kidding.
to move to, I'd move to Canada before anywhere else.
Really? It's so cold. It's already cold enough in Minnesota. Why would you up the ante
It's
on
not that much worse than Minnesota.
What a thing to say. It's really not that much worse.
It's not. A lot of places are actually better in Canada than Minnesota when it comes to the weather.
I know you're right. I know that you're right.
And also a significant percentage of their population lives at the same latitude or in the same latitude zone as Minnesota.
I know you're right. I know that you're right. It's just that in my mind, I'm constantly trying to move to like a warmer, more sunny location. So that is going the opposite. I'm like, how can I get more sunlight in my day on a consistent basis? Canada
I'm
doesn't,
not on
it
that
doesn't feel like
track.
they could do that for me. Okay. Well, I'll see you in Austria.
We'll see you in Austria. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe, check out our social media.
Tell us what we did wrong this episode so we can learn. Send us your feedback. Our email address is wedon'tknowwheelf1@gmail.com. Comment on our Instagram post. Our Instagram is wedon'tknowwheelf1. Yeah, like, follow, subscribe. We love you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.